Welcome back, dear ones. Bienvenidos. I hope you've had a restful sleep and are excited to begin our next series of adventures today. My name is Miss Lane, L-A-N-E. Me llamo Lana. I wonder, ¿cómo te llamas? You can say, me llamo, and then state your name. Yesterday, I shared some of my favorite Sunbeam Mountain stories, and today I can't wait to share some more. It's important to share stories, even if they are make-believe.
For thousands of years, humans have used storytelling to pass on their knowledge, remember important events, and to expand their imagination. Before our ancestors developed the tools to be able to write, they relied on spoken stories to keep their traditions alive.
For me, I like stories in which the people are kind, the places are pristine, and the plot has a gentle adventure that always has a happy ending. Maybe that's why I like my grandmother's 5 Rose Lane stories so much, because everything always works out for the best.
If you'll remember, 5 Rose Lane is a magical street that grows itself by one city block each time you think you've come to the end of it. To find it, we had to travel through the Friend Street alley at just the right time, 8:38 on a Monday morning. Any other day, 5 Rose Lane just appeared to be a plain old sleepy street. The people of 5 Rose Lane lived in 2 worlds at the same time, the one we live in, and the one that was more elusive. The one where new city blocks sprouting out of thin air was just normal.
Have you ever told stories around a campfire? If so, I'd love to hear your favorite one over in the 5 Rose Lane forum. Just find the link in the description box below. Do you know what else is fun to do around a campfire? Cook, of course.
Perhaps you have roasted marshmallows before. Or if you've ever been camping, your family might have made kebabs or foil packs on the fire. One thing is for sure, cooking looks a little different when you don't have electricity, running water, refrigerators, or stoves with natural gas.
That's how it was for the people of 5 Rose Lane. They didn't have the same kind of kitchens we have now, but that didn't stop them from making delicious foods. For as long as humans have known that we could eat, they have been perfecting the art of cooking. Cooking food for yourself is an important skill to know, and it can even be sort of fun once you find the right recipes for yourself. Today, I'd like to show you how to cook without using a fire. Although fires can be made and used safely, I think it's important to know what to do in case you can't start a fire. If you ever decide to do a lengthy stay in the woods, you'll want to know some different methods for doing things.
Sometimes it might be hard to find the materials you need to start a fire. The wood could be too wet, or maybe there's not enough of it laying around to make a fire that stays lit. Or it could be that you can't make your fire starting tools work. Those are called flint and steel. And sometimes that happens to even the best survivalist.
Before we get started on this project, let's warm up our brains a little. Just like yesterday, we'll do some walking and stretching, dancing and singing. Then we'll be ready to focus on things like measuring and cutting and building. Won't you join me? Before I begin my day, I like to do a bit of exercise. It wakes up my body and shakes the sleep off my brain. And greeting the big blue sky and the great green earth, well, that just makes my heart want to sing a happy tune. When I was a little kid hearing stories about 5 Rose Lane, just like you might be now, I always liked it best when my grandmother would sing their songs and show me the kinds of games they played. She said every morning after everyone had a hearty breakfast, they would gather in the wildwood to do a bit of singing and dancing before going on about their day. But when they camped at Sunbeam Mountain, they would go on jolly hikes instead. A neighbor in the front, al frente, plus a neighbor behind, detrás, equals un línea larga when the whole neighborhood comes together. I wonder how many people are in your line today. If it's just you, then perhaps you could invite some characters from your favorite story to join in the fun. Marching, marching, here we go. Marching, marching to and fro. I'm in front and you're in back. Let's switch now, but stay on track. Marching, marching, 1, 2, 3. Marching, marching, you and me. You go left and I'll go right. Meet in the middle before it's night. There's a bright golden haze in El Prado. There's a bright golden haze in El Prado. El maze is as high as an elephant's eye, and it looks like it's climbing clear up to the sky. Oh, que bonita mañana. Oh, qué hermoso día. Tengo un sentimiento hermoso. Todo va a mi manera. I like to eat apples and bananas. I like to eat apples and bananas. I like to eat apples and bananas. I like to oat apples and bananas. I like to oot apples and bananas. I like to eat apples and bananas. Me gusta comer manzanas y bananas. I like to eat apples and bananas. Peas porridge hot, peas porridge cold, peas porridge in the pot, 9 days old. Some like it hot, some like it cold, some like it in the pot, 9 days old. On the good ship, Lollipop, it's a sweet trip to a candy shop where bonbons play on the sunny beach of Peppermint Bay. Lemonade stands everywhere, Cracker Jack bands fill the air, and there you are, happy landing on a chocolate bar. See the sugar bowl, do the Tootsie Roll, and the big bad devil's food cake. If you eat too much, ooh, you'll awake with a tummy ache. On the good ship, Lollipop, it's a night trip. Into bed you'll hop and dream away. On the good ship, Lollipop. The ants go marching 6 by 6, hurrah, hurrah. The ants go marching 6 by 6, hurrah, hurrah. The ants go marching 6 by 6. The little one stops to pick up sticks, and they all go marching down to the ground to get out of the rain. Boom, 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 boom. The ants go marching 8 by 8, hurrah, hurrah. The ants go marching 8 by 8, hurrah, hurrah. The ants go marching 8 by 8. The little one stops and says, "That's great." And they all go marching down to the ground to get out of the rain. Boom, 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 boom.
As I went walking that ribbon of highway, I saw above me that endless skyway. I saw below me the golden valley. This land was made for you and me. I roamed and rambled and followed my footsteps to the sparkling sands of her diamond deserts, and all around me a voice was sounding, "This land was made for you and me." When the sun comes shining, then I was strolling, and the wheat fields waving, and the dust clouds rolling. A voice was chanting as the fog was lifting, "This land was made for you and me. This land was made for you and me."
If today is Red Day, or Tuesday, as the grown-ups call it, then tomorrow is Yellow Day, and yesterday was Purple Day. To Sunbeam Mountain we go in July, 'cause that's when lions dance in the sky. The season is summer, and we've a ways to go before autumn bursts with her colors on show. Mother of the fairy tale, take me by your silver hand, sail me on your shining boat, take me to a long, long time ago, there was a brilliant young man who lived on 5 Rose Lane. His name was Leander. Leander was an engineer, an inventor, you see. So his homestead was filled with all kinds of wonderful contraptions, some to help ease the burdens of daily survival, and others were just for fun. He liked to see the ideas from his notebooks come to life. And this was his privilege as someone who was so masterful at tinkering.
Although the young man had a brilliant mind, he did not have a brilliant heart. His frequent work with metal and his penchant for building robotic appliances made him a little cold, a little insensitive, a little not so nice. Over time, he became more friendly with his machines than with his neighbors.
The other people on 5 Rose Lane just couldn't understand him. They liked making a life with their hands. Sure, the machines made the work go by faster, but in their minds, they enjoyed the pace of their lives. Some jobs were just too big for one person to do, and it required them to rely on their neighbors for help. And because of this, everyone in the village was close.
Their closeness made them feel safe. It made them feel good. It made them feel at peace. And besides that, the people of 5 Rose Lane thought handmade things were nicer. No, they just didn't see what all the fuss was about when it came to Leander's contraptions.
To be fair, Leander didn't have the easiest time growing up on 5 Rose Lane. For as long as he could remember, he never had a mother, and his father, who was also an inventor, left Satya Sole to take a grand voyage across the sea when Leander was just a boy.
Leander's father had crafted a grand sailing vessel, one that would practically sail itself, and he wanted to show it off in faraway lands. He assured Leander that he would soon return, but he did not, and eventually it was determined that he was lost at sea.
As you can imagine, Leander was lonely without the love of his parents to support him. For a while, his neighbors tried to care for him, but after so many of his harsh outbursts, they decided it was best to let Leander make his own way. Everyone was happier like this, including Leander. There was one person, however, who admired Leander's work, and one day he received a letter from her.
At the letter's request, Leander packed up his bag of tools and set off on his quest to Sunbeam Mountain. Up, up, up. He hiked until he found the hidden path that led to his mysterious admirer's home. He wasn't sure what to expect when he arrived. He found that the woman who needed his help was in dire straits indeed.
Flavia was an old woman. Her back was stooped, almost as if someone had folded her in half. It was difficult for her to get around. She had no children of her own, and because she lived so deep in the woods, not many people even knew she was there.
Her house was unkempt. Mother Nature was in a battle to reclaim Flavia's bit of earth. Vines pierced the window panes. Limbs threatened to cave in the roof. And the grass grew so tall around Flavia's door that Leander had to cut his way through to find the steps. He tentatively knocked on the door, and he heard Flavia's weak voice say, "Come in, dear." "You sent for me?" he said in a confused tone. "Oh, yes, my child, and I am so glad you have come. I'd have baked you some cookies, but I can't start the fire anymore, you see," said Flavia sweetly. Leander didn't have time for pleasantries. He wanted to get back to his projects. "What do you want from me?" he asked. Flavia knew that young people could be in such a hurry, and although she longed to have a friendly conversation with the visitor, she didn't want to waste any more of Leander's time.
"As you can see, I can't get around like I used to. I can't take care of this house by myself, and I seldom get any visitors." Flavia wanted to see if Leander would offer to help her before she asked him. "What's that got to do with me?" he wondered. "A friend of mine said you might be able to help," she encouraged. "How?" Leander couldn't see for the life of him what Flavia was getting at. "She told me that you make special machines that help people do the work of living," she countered. "Your friends must not be from around here. No one on 5 Rose Lane appreciates my work. They all think my inventions are silly and useless," Leander pouted.
He stared out the window, and Flavia could see how pained he was that no one in the village had found a way to make him feel included. She smiled a healing smile, and it did soften his heart just a little.
"I do not think your inventions are silly and useless, dear. I think they could really help an old lady like me to make an easier go of it. They could make my daily tasks possible again. It takes me so long just to do the simplest thing. The day is done before I even make a good start." Leander thought for a moment. He sure did like the feeling of someone taking kindly to his work. It had been such a rare feeling in his life. "Well, I suppose I could make something. What kind of machine are you looking for?" he asked.
"More than anything else in the entire world, I'd love to have some hot food. I haven't had a warm meal in years. I've grown tired of eating salads from the yard, and I've just about used up all of my pickled preserves. Are you able to gather firewood? Kindling?" "Oh no, dear. I can't lift more than about 7 stones worth," she laughed.
Flavia may not have had any strength in her body or food in her cupboards, but she still had her sense of humor. Leander couldn't help but to feel that he wanted to help her. He knew what it was like to live alone, to be lonely, and to have to survive without relying on anyone else.
Suddenly, the sun peeked out from behind the trees and light came streaming into the room. Leander thought about how powerful the sun's light could be, and it gave him an idea. He would build an oven for Flavia that only needed the heat of the sun to cook her food. He pulled out his notebook and set to work right away. "I'll need to use that window," he said. "I can cut another one for you so you can still see out." "You may." He continued sketching as he explained to her what he was going to build. She didn't understand all of his technical jargon, but she was excited to see his brilliant mind working.
Flavia could see how good this invention was going to be for both of them. Good for her because she would be able to cook again, and good for him because it would make him feel a sense of purpose. It would allow him to use his special talents to help someone in need. And that kind of work makes anyone feel good.
Leander worked late into the night while Flavia slept in her chair. Just as the sun rose over the horizon, Leander was putting the finishing touches on Flavia's solar oven. The light from the new window tickled her face, and she awoke to see Leander admiring his latest contraption. He carefully helped her over to see it up close, and he explained to her how it worked.
Well done, my boy. You've solved my conundrum. She couldn't wait to test it out. Flavia couldn't wait to try out her new oven. The thought of cooking put a little pep in her step, and she seemed to move a little faster than before.
Leander sat down, and before he could stop himself, he fell into a deep sleep. He awoke to the smell of something delicious, something sweet, something that reminded him of being a child. Flavia set a plate of hand pies before him. They oozed with honey and jam, and Leander's eyes grew wide. He gobbled them up as Flavia looked on, quite amused. The warm pastries of his youth melted the ice around his heart, and it wasn't long before he and Flavia were laughing and telling stories and coming up with more ideas together.
They were fast friends, and he enjoyed her company so much that he decided to stay another night and work on some other projects around her home. Flavia only lived to see one more summer after that one, but Leander found a way to make her last year of life more bearable, both because of the machines he made for her and because of his friendship. He cherished Flavia while she was alive. He came to visit often and fix things around her home, and Flavia cherished him too. She made him hand pies aplenty, and she encouraged him to use his gifts to help others. Once she showed him the path to success, he never again had any trouble getting along with the people on 5 Rose Lane. I've always liked that story. My grandmother said when she was a little girl, they built a special museum on 5 Rose Lane to honor Leander's contributions. And she liked to go inside to see all of his special inventions. It makes you feel good when other people see how special your gifts are. But even if they don't understand them, and even if they tell you they're silly, I hope you will always remember that you were given your talents for a very special reason, and you can always use them to help others. What do you say we make our own version of Leander's solar oven? And afterwards, we can even make some of Flavia's delicious hand pies. Are you ready to get started? If so, I'll see you back at the campsite. In our story about how Leander helped Flavia live an easier life with his inventions, he made a special oven that only needed the power of the sun to cook her food. There are lots of ways to make a solar oven. You can use a box, a can, or even an old umbrella. I'm going to post a link to some other examples of solar ovens in the description box below. As long as you have a cooking surface, something to act as a channel for the heat, and reflective material, you can cook just about anything except for meat in this type of contraption. We can't use it to cook meat because it won't get hot enough to cook the center. And as we all know, we never want to eat raw meat. Your solar oven will, however, get to a temperature of about 200 degrees, so it's important to use extreme caution when reaching into it to retrieve the food you've made. Always use an oven mitt or pot holder to handle your solar oven, and it's probably best to do this work with an adult or older sibling around to help you out.
To make Leander's solar oven, you'll need a pizza box or a shoebox with a folding lid, aluminum foil, plastic wrap, black construction paper, clear tape or black electrical tape, a ruler, a pencil for drawing, and a cutting tool. Step 1. Measure 1 inch from the edges of your box and draw a square on the lid. Step 2. Cut out 3 sides of your square, leaving one side uncut to create a hinge. Step 3. Fold back the flap and cover it with aluminum foil. Secure the foil with tape. Step 4. Cover both sides of the opening in the lid with plastic wrap. Make sure there are no holes and that the plastic is really secure. Step 5. Cover the entire interior and exterior of the box with aluminum foil and place the piece of black construction paper in the bottom tray of your box. Step 6. Prop the flap open with a stick. It needs to be open enough to receive the sun's light.
This oven works best when it's hot and sunny. The sun's light bounces off the foil flap and into the box. The plastic window acts like a greenhouse to keep heat trapped inside the box. The black paper absorbs heat and warms the bottom part of your food. And we can add newspaper to provide extra insulation. Now let's see if we can cook something. Let's see if we can make Flavia's famous hand pies. If you like Pop-Tarts, I bet you'll like these too.
First, we'll need to make the pie crust. If you're camping, you'll need a cooler with some ice to have the best success with this recipe. Otherwise, just feel free to use your refrigerator. Step 1. Measure out 1 part sugar, 2 parts butter, and 3 parts flour. If you're going to use a cup of sugar, then you'll need 2 cups of butter and 3 cups of flour. Adjust up or down depending on how much crust you need. Just make sure you remember to use the 1-2-3 ratio. If you have extra dough, you can make shortbread cookies with the leftovers. Step 2. Put the flour and sugar into a bowl. Stir it up. Step 3. Cut the butter into smaller pieces and then use a butter knife to cut it into the flour and sugar mixture. Step 4. Knead the dough only long enough to combine all of the ingredients. You'll need to have cold hands for this part. Dunk clean hands into an ice water bath for a few seconds while kneading. The butter needs to stay cold so that the dough will be the right consistency. Step 5. Let the dough rest in your cooler or fridge for about 30 minutes while you make the filling. Now we'll make the pie filling. I'm making peach and strawberry hand pies, but you can use any kind of fruit that you think is yummy. Most filling recipes call for the same ingredients, so just substitute your favorite fruit if you don't like peaches and strawberries. Step 1. Whisk together warm water, sugar, and lemon juice until it all dissolves together. Step 2. In a separate bowl, add the fruit and a little bit of vanilla extract. Stir it around to soak up all the flavor. If you want to add any other flavors like cinnamon or nuts, put them in here. I'm going to add a dash of rose lemonade to my filling. Step 3. Add the sugar-water mixture to your fruit mixture. Then let it sit covered in the sun for about 15 minutes. Or if you're at home, you can just cover it and let it sit on the counter. Step 4. Strain off the liquid into another bowl and add a little cornstarch. The cornstarch will help everything stick together. But we don't need to add too much. Just a pinch or 2 will do. Stir this back into the fruit bowl and let it rest again. Once we have the filling made, it's time to start assembling the hand pies. Do you still have your ice bath handy? You'll need cold hands to work out the dough and lots of extra flour to keep the dough from sticking to your work surface. If you have a rolling pin, flatten your dough and cut out 2 circles with the rim of a drinking glass. If you want to make fancy crust on top, you could use cookie cutters to cut out shapes in one of your circles. Spoon a little of the filling onto one of the dough circles, and then put the other one on top. With cold hands, press the edges of the two circles together until you have a little dough pocket. If you didn't cut shapes out of the top circle, make a few slits so that the heat can escape from the middle while cooking. If you don't have a rolling pin and a drinking glass, you can just make a fold over. Flatten your dough as best you can with cold hands and put some filling in the middle. Fold the dough in half, smush the edges together, and cut the slits in the top. Put your treat on an oven-safe plate and pop it in your solar oven for a while. Let it cook for several hours or until you see the top of your crust turning golden brown. Remember to use your oven mitts to handle the solar oven and pie plate. Both will be very hot. After it cools off, you're ready to enjoy a delicious treat, just like the ones Leander liked.
Of course, in today's times, we have fully functional kitchens, so it might seem a bit silly to use this method of cooking. It's always a good idea to know another way of doing things, though, just in case you can't start a fire for some reason. If you're involved with the Scouts, then you know their motto, always be prepared. I think that's sound advice for anyone and any time, and I hope you'll take it to heart. Join me again tomorrow as we dive deeper into the world of 5 Rose Lane and our Sunbeam Mountain camping adventures. Goodbye to you all, and sweet be your day. May angels surround you and watch you at play. Goodbye, 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 goodbye. Peace, love, and blessings to you, dear ones. May you always dream a new dream, carry a song in your heart, and spread your joy to others. I love you, and I'll see you again very soon. Adios.